Be on Ta'anit Daf Amud Aleph. I'm recording this on Motzei Shabbos, that's why I'm dripped out, as the youth say. Okay, so like this, we have the Gemara starts off Mei Masai Mazkirin Geshamim. There's the mission, of course, but Eliezer Meir Miyam Tov Harishon Shachag, Yeshua Meir Miyam Tov Achin Shachag. Amar Yeshua Hoven Geshamim L'Simin Klal B'Chag Lamu Mazkir. Amar Eliezer Af Ani Lemarti El Lishol El Lahazkir Mashav Ruach Merid Geshem Bei Nosai. Of course, the back and forth in the Mishnah, whether or not to say Mashav Ruach Merid Geshem. Rabbi Eliezer is for, Rabbi Yeshua is, of course, against. As the Gemara continues, the Mishnah says, the back and forth between Rabbi Eliezer and Yeshua. Rabbi Eliezer says he should, Rabbi Yeshua says no. Rabbi Eliezer says, Rabbi Yeshua says if why would you say it on Sukkos? Sukkos, you don't want rain to come down on Sukkos. Says Gemara, Rabbi Eliezer says, yeah, I didn't say you should daven for it. I said you should mention it. So then the Gemara says, well, if that's the case, you should always mention. So then the Mishnah continues. The Mishnah says, by the way, at this point, if you're wondering what on earth does Rabbi Eliezer respond to this, is a good place to be, right? That is something the Gemara is going to deal with in the upcoming dafim. We only ask for rain before the time for rain. Okay, I just wanted to point out, Rabbi Yehuda says, if you go before the tevos, meaning if you're the chazon, the shatz, the sheikh tzibur, and it's the last day of Sukkos, so you should say, so the person davening musaf is the one who says, who davens, and the person who is the one who says Mashav Ruach Merid Geshem. Versus if you go on the last day of Pesach, then the person saying Musaf is the one who says Merid Tal. So I wanted to point out the strange lashon. Why is he saying Ha'ivir Lifnei HaTefer? Why is he talking about the Shliach Tzibur? Why is he not just straight up saying on Yom Tif, Sukkos, by Shacharis you don't say Mashav Ruach, by Musaf you do. Same thing by Pesach reversed. On Pesach, you don't say Mashav Ruach Merid Geshem by Musaf, but by Shachris you do. So why didn't he just say that? So there's a halacha, actually based off of the halacha in the Shulchan Aruch. It's brought down. I didn't print it out on the Smar Mekaymis, but you'll take my word for it. It is usher for you to say Mashav Haruach or Merid Hatal, depending on the time, right? So it's Sukkos. You're not allowed to switch to saying Mashav Haruach. If it's Pesach, you're not allowed to switch to Merid Hatal unless the Chazon announced it. It's actually machlekes in the Shulchan Aruch whether or not it's that the chazan has to announce the switch, or does the chazan have to actually say the words Mashav Ruach Merid Geshem. So it's machlekes there, but l'maisa, the way the Shulchan Aruch comes, the way I think the pashtus of the Shulchan Aruch comes out is that he has to announce. So when they clap on the beam and they say Mashav Ruach, at that moment you're allowed to switch. Now it comes out from, that's the lashon here. He says Ha'ivir Lifnei HaTeva, if you pass in front of the teva. He doesn't say, Harishon Mazkir Achin Mazkir. It doesn't just say just stop and switch, do the switch by Musaf / Shachris. No, he's saying the Rishon, the Ha'ivir Lifnei HaTeva, the person who goes before the teva, Shliach Tzibur, he's the guy that makes the difference. Now, why is this the case? Why is it usher? So the Chacham say because we don't want there to be a eruv. We don't want everybody to be mixed in. We want it to be that people aren't mixed. The whole shul either davens for rain, or the whole shul davens for not rain. So I haven't seen it get mentioned. Like, why not? Why is it that? So we have to look into this. Like, what's wrong with this idea that like half the shul is davening for rain and half the shul is not davening? Apparently that's a problem. I don't know why. Okay, good. Let us continue. The Gemara starts. The Gemara says, Tana Heichal Koi Niktani Mei Masai. Where is this Mishnah coming from that he asked Mei Masai? So you'll see here, it gets brought down. Rashi actually says, right? Rashi says, Tana Heichal Koi Keloimar. Means to say, Niktani Mei Masai. If it says Mei Masai, Michlal the Pshita Leila Haitana the Chayavim Lahazkir. If you're saying Mei Masai, that means you have to daven. So he says you have to say it. So Vehecha Chazina the Chayav Lahazkir. How do you know that you have to? Okay? So now the Ritva says this actually a little bit more explicitly. He says, Upirushay hanachain, the kolki hagavna shein chiyuvoy mifurish bekasuv meikara. If it doesn't say it outright in a pasuk, is leilatana lemisni chiyuva. The hadartani umina de chiyuva, right? Umina de tiyuva. V'hainu Okay, fine. So the Ritva says, the way the question is being understood, how do I know? So you're telling me that I'm chayiv to say Mashiv Ruchmer de Geshem. So how do I know I'm chayiv? You're sort of assuming that I'm chayiv. How do I know that I'm chayiv? So this will get us into the Machlekes Rashi Tosfos about how to understand the Gemara's answer. So Rashi says like this. So the Gemara says like this. The Gemara says, Diktani, it says, so Tana Hasam Kai, it's over there. Diktani, Mazkirin Gvuros Kishamim, B'tchias HaMeisim. It says Gvuros Kishamim in Tchias HaMeisim. Which means you say it by the fourth bracha, right? After Atakadosh, sorry, not the fourth bracha, the third bracha. Before Atakadosh, you say Baruch Hashem Chaya Meisim, which is where we say Mashiv Ruach Mer de Geshem. So you see, that's the place that tells you have to do it. So says the Gemara, no. The Gemara V'Sholim B'Birkas Hashanim, the Havdalah, the Chayna Dats, right? And you ask by Birkas Hashanim, which is Tikah B'Shofar, which when we say, sorry, not Tikah B'Shofar, right before the bracha before, which is Baruch Aleinu. Baruch Aleinu is when you ask V'Tein Talumatar, the bracha, Sfardim and Ashkenazim both. Then you say Havdalah and Chayna Das. Havdalah is by Chayna Das. V'Ktsani Me'eim Atzam Azkirin Gvurz Kishamim. So then the Gemara says, now that I said that you say Gvurz Kishamim, when do I say this Gvurz Kishamim? So the Gemara, listening, so the Gemara asks back, why would you say it now? Why not all the way over there? Why would you wait till now to ask this, to say this? So it doesn't make any sense. You're waiting till now to say this din. You said it. You were talking in Masaches Brachos. Masaches Brachos is where it has to be. So it should. So this halacha should be in Masaches Brachos. Why is it in Tainus? So it says the Gemara, Elatana mi Rosh Hashanah Salek. So no, new answer. It's from Rosh Hashanah. The Tana is coming off of Rosh Hashanah. The Tanan uvechag nedenu l'mayim. It says Chag on Sukkot you're judged for water. V'aditana uvechag nedenu l'mayim tana ve'imasai. So since it says that you're judged for water, so it has to say me'imasai mazkirin gvurz kishamim. Right? That is the back and forth. Now you'll notice there's a little bit of a difference in the way Rashi understood the Gemara's question in the first place and the way Ritva understood the Gemara's question in the first place. The way Rashi understood the Gemara's question is, if you're saying that you one second, let's say this one more time. The way Rashi understood it, if you're saying that you're chayav to say mazkirin gvurz kishamim, so then you have to show me where it explicitly says mazkirin gvurz kishamim. The Ritva says, meaning, I hope this was clear. The way I just said it was not clear whether I hold like Rashi or the Ritva. Let's look at the Lashon and Rashi inside again. Kiloimar, what this means to say is, Tani me'imasai, from the fact that it says me'imasai, mechlad l'pshitile lehaitana d'chayavim lahazkir. It seems like it's pashut that you have to say it. Meaning, if I say, when do I say Mashiv Ruach Mer de Geshem? So then it's pashut that I have to say Mashiv Ruach Geshem. Ve'hecha chazina on d'mechayev lahazkir. Where do we see that you're chayev to say it? So meaning the question isn't where does it say that you're chayev, it's how do I know that you're chayev? A little bit different than the way the Ritva says it. The Ritva, again, I have it printed out right here on my comment sheet. You can see I'm in Google Docs, that it says, anytime, the way the Ritva understood it, anytime that it says that you're chayev in something, I need you to tell me where does it say that I'm chayev? So it's different than Rashi. Rashi's not asking where does it say that I'm chayev. Rashi's asking how do I know that I'm chayev? Now that might sound like it's the same, but you're about to see it's a very big difference in understanding this Gemara. Because what does the Gemara do? The Gemara says, you know how I know I'm chayiv? Brachos. Then the Gemara says, brachos doesn't make any sense. How could it be brachos? The Gemara says, by the way, I have this mic on very high gain. I'm going to try to take it down a little bit. It says, brachos doesn't make any sense. How could it be brachos? Says the Gemara, no. The Dava says, no. It must be not brachos. It must be, the Gemara says, we're coming from Rosh Hashanah. So do you understand that the Gemara says that we're not really going off of the Gemara in brachos? Or does the Gemara think we still are going off the Gemara brachos? We're just continuing from Rosh Hashanah. So that means, if you're Rashi doesn't, it can't be, Lefi Rashi, can't be that we're going off of the Gemara in brachos. It says Rashi, look inside, Rashi says, Ella, loy tema da hadiktani me'imasai, De Hasam Kai. Don't say that we said Me'emasai because we're going off of there. It says the Tana Rosh Hashanah Salik. We're going off of Rosh Hashanah. Shishneim Meseder Echad Hein. It's all in one Seder. Lahachi Leimatzil Meimar. Maishna Deshav Keat Hacha. Now you can't ask, why'd you wait until now? Because I didn't wait until now, because I have nothing to do with there. That's what Rashi says. Rashi says no. So again, if the question is where did I see that I'm chayiv, Rashi says I didn't see that I'm chayiv from Gemara Brachos, Mishnah Brachos. I saw that I'm chayiv from somewhere else, and that is Rosh Hashanah. That it says Uvechag Niden El Mayim. If you're the Ritva, that's not a good enough answer, because according to the Ritva, it's not enough that I know that I'm chayiv. The Tana has to explicitly tell me that I'm chayiv. So if you're the Ritva, you can't say that we're going off of the Gemara, the Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah, because the Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah doesn't explicitly say that I'm chayiv. So Lefi Rashi, he understood, how do I know I'm chayiv? So I know I'm chayiv from the Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah. Lefi the Ritva, it's not a good enough answer, because it doesn't tell me that I'm chayiv from the Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah. The Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah doesn't say that I'm chayiv. The Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah might show that I'm chayiv. Those are two different things. I need the Tana to explicitly say it. So he says, look here inside, I printed out the... And by the way, the Ritva and Tosfos line up with each other. They're the same. Ayin Shom, you'll see in Tosfos that he agrees with the Ritva. I just printed out the Ritva because I think it's a little bit easier to see it. He's more explicit in this. But if you look at the Tosfos, it's Tosfos of Maschil Ella and Hasam Kai, so you'll see that. Fine. So look at the Ritva. The Ritva says here, V'amrinan de Hasam Kai. Okay, I cut out a little bit in the middle. The Hasam Kai, he's going off of there, which is what? Right, which means the Gemara in Brachos. What's it doing over there? What's Mazkirim Gvus Keshavim doing over there? Because over there it's talking about Brachos. We're talking about Shemon Esrei. So it puts it in Shemon Esrei. So it says Vatfilas. V'gav shebrachos hi tchila seder zraim she'inyanot talui kivracha. Right, it's the beginning of Zraim, and so Zraim you need rain. So there you go, rain. So he says, V'geshamim, v'akshinan v'lisanye hasam. So he asks, why not say it over there? Ma'ishna de tanye, v'hadrinon, why did we wait? V'hadrinon ela tana mirshana salik. The Tana is coming off of Rosh Hashanah. The Tnan uvechag niden elamayim. The Adi the Tnan uvechag niden elamayim. Tananami me'imasai. So it says vehavadai. So now that Ritva is talking, he's not going to the Gemara anymore. Vehavadai lefum pashto loy asya shapir. This makes no sense, he says. Obviously, this obviously doesn't work. Hai tirutza lemad ba'inan heichotani chiyuva. It doesn't answer the question. How do I say the chiyuv? It doesn't work. Daz karas geshamim. Where does it say that? So it just doesn't. That is not a good answer. Meaning we're not moving off of brachos. We're stuck in brachos. You didn't forget about brachos. So that must be it. It must be we're still in brachos. From the reason we said. Our question is, one second. Brachos is zraim. It wouldn't have waited until now. The listeni hashda meimasai. I wouldn't have waited to say now meimasai if we're going off of brachos only. Ilav the hacha b'seder moed hadar tani remiza. Unless there's another remez in seder moed. Uvechag nidan elamayim, which is this Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah about how on Sukkot we get judged on water. Uminei salik deragil befuma derabanan. Kitani hacha meimasai. Fine, then the v'afagav is not so important. So not so germane to us. So meaning what the Ritva says is no. We're going off of the Mishnah in brachos. We're going off the Mishnah in brachos, but we are, even though we're going off the Mishnah in brachos, we're waiting until Rosh Hashanah, until right after we get to Rosh Hashanah, to get through with this point, which is this idea. So he says, fine. So he says, good. Now again, this Ritva can only come after the point of that Gemara doesn't answer its question. It means if you're Rashi, the Ritva makes no sense. Why would you wait until now? In fact, the Gemara doesn't answer Rashi's question on the Ritva, which is a very good question, which is, one second, why did we wait? If the Ritva, there's not really a good reason, except for the fact that there's another remez here in Seder Moed. But if you're Rashi, I don't care about the remez in Seder Moed, I should have stuck with an answer over there. Unless if you're Rashi, what's going on over there has nothing to do with us. We're only going off of Rosh Hashanah. If either it's Ritva though, he understood the Gemara's question, not like Rashi. That it's not, where do we see that you're chayav? So our Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah doesn't work. Because it's not that we see that we're chayiv, it's that we see that the Tana explicitly tells us we're chayiv, which wouldn't work for us. So says the Gemara, look, here we go. V'hainu deniktinon, the Ritva continues, B'hai piruka, it's the last line of the Ritva, B'hai piruka basra, me Rosh Hashanah salik. V'ilu piruka kama amar hasam ka'i. So he says, let me show you. This is why our answer, the Brisa says, not the Brisa, the Gemara says, the Mishnah was going off of Rosh Hashanah. Salik means he left Rosh Hashanah. Salik, he left. But the first answer was Tana Hasam Koi. He's standing on brachos. Because he's still standing on brachos. He just left off of Rosh Hashanah. So meaning according to the Ritva, the Tana's leaving off of brachos, but he's just standing, he's standing on brachos. He's stuck with brachos. Brachos is where he says Tana Hasam Koi. But he's leaving off of here. So now that you have this, let me bring you down Taisis. Taisis asks our question, and he says V'yishloimar, right? It's Taisis different maskal Ella. He says V'yishloimar dahacha ikr. Damrinan bechag hidayin alamayim. Taisis says, why not go off of the Gemara and Brachos, Mishnah and Brachos? Says the Gemara, no. Taisis, no. Here it's better because it says V'chag hidayin alamayim. Ve'orcha demilsa liratzos lifnei sheila. When do I ask? I ask before I'm getting judged. I ask when I'm getting judged. And how do I get you to how do I ask? First I thank you, and then I ask you. So meaning here is the point. Going off of the Chag Tidayin Alamayim. Okay, very, very good. Let me take you through the Keren Oira. Keren Oira says like this. He says that if you look at Tosfos, Tosfos' question, Tosfos actually, I believe, is going in Hasam Kai. Elatana Pirush. Yeah. It's the second test. Elatana Mirashana Kasalik. This is what Keren Oyer is going off of. And he says, Pirush Rishana hu beseder moyed. So Tosfos is really bothered by the Seder being off. That means moyed, if Mei Masai Mazkirin comes in Seder moyed, so why is the other Gemara, the other Mishnah, which is Mazkirin Gevurus Keshamim, why does that end up all the way back in Seder Zra'im? That's the problem that bothers Tosfos. But he's not bothered by the order of the Mishnayos. So he says, you look at this Keren Oira, he says that Tosfos doesn't have Tainis right after Rosh Hashanah, which is how we actually have it. We have Mishnayos, Rosh Hashanah, then Tainis. And the Rambam does have Tainis right after Rosh Hashanah. So we follow the order of the Rambam, not the order of Tosfos. I thought that was cool. Let me bring you down one more. You can look at this Keren Oira. I printed the whole thing out for you. Let me bring you down one more. I saw this over the week, and I forget which sefer I saw this in. But it says like this. So it says, V'lisri me'e masai mazkirin al hageshamim. So the Gemara asks, why do we say masai mazkirin gevuras geshamim, the strength of rain? Why not say al hageshamim? When do we mention rain? So the Gemara, my gevuras geshamim, amar yechanan mipnei sheyardin begvura. They come down with gevura, with strength. Shenamar, oise gedolos ad ein cheker, v'neflois ad ein mispar. Okay, this pasuk, it says Hashem does greatness to no end, and niflois with no number. It says uksiv hanaisein matar al pnei eretz, v'shalech mayim al pnei chutzos. The one who sends water on the ground, and again sends water on the streets. So my mash, or outside, I guess. Chutzos is outside. My mashma, how do you see this? What does that have to do with anything with rain and gevuras? Amar Rabba Bar Shila, asya cheker mi b'riyasa shel olam. You have cheker from gezer shav of cheker from b'riyasa shel olam, from the creation of the world. Ksiv hacha oisek gedolos adein cheker. It says here in our pasuk, oisek gedolos to no end. One who does greatness to no end. V'ksiv hasam halaydatem l'shamata. Did you not hear? Do you not know? Elikei olam Hashem boirek tzes haaretz. Hashem is the one who created the world. Every end of the earth, he won't get tired, he won't get out of strength. There's no end to his understanding. He creates, he I guess prepares mountains with his strength. Nezer b'gvura means he's wrapped with strength. So the word gvura is connected to rain. Umina land of tefillah. So how do you know that's to do with tefillah? The Tanya, Lavas Hashem Lekechem, but Ulavde Bechol Avavchem. Right, this pasuk This says to love Hashem with all your heart and to serve Him with all your heart. Which avodas in the heart have yemers tefillah. So the Gemara is asking, how do I know that by tefillah is when I have to say gvuras geshamim? So he says, because the pasuk says that if you daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's the avodah shebalev, then the rain comes down. So now I wanted to bring down this idea, which is like this. Why do we say in Tchias HaMesim specifically, again, and I don't remember the name of the Sefer, but I'll look it up and I'll try to find it for you, that the Sefer said, why do we say Gvuras Geshamim in Tchias HaMesim? It's a weird place. What does Tchias HaMesim, coming back from the dead, have anything to do with rain? So he says, you know why? Because rain is what keeps a person alive. And when Hashem sends down rain, Hashem does Tchias HaMesim. So that means that for a person to stay alive, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to determine they're worthy of continuing life. Okay, it's a concept we're going to come back to in those Gemaras about davening for rain with the plague, and they wanted to daven for one, not the other. You'll see, we'll get back to it later in Gemara and Tainus. Fine. But I wanted to, what's germane to us is that, why is it called Gvura? So let me tell you like this. The Gaon Vilna, this is something that I'm adding on to this sefer that I saw. The Gaon Vilna said that if we all know that in the first bracha of Shemona Esrei, you have to have kavana, and the kavana has to be for each word. You have to know each word. But the Gaon Vilna said if you understand the first four words of Hakel, Hagadol, Hagibor, Ve'hanoira, you have kavana in those words, then you'll have kavana in the rest. Because if you think about it, Hakel, so here's Hakel, Hagadol, Hagibor, Kel Elyoin, so that's the word Hakel, right? God above. No, 1 second. Let me get a siddur. Whenever you try to translate, even though I say this 10 times a day, the moment you try to quote, you get lost. So make sure I have a siddur in front of me. Give me a second here. Okay, so the Gaon Vilna says like this. He says, you look through the first four words, it says, Hakel Gadol Hagibor Ve'hanoira, Kel Elyon, Goy Mel Chasadim Toivim. So the word Gadol, Hashem is big. How's Hashem big? He does chesed. Goy Mel Chasadim, he does chesed. Koine, so he's a Gibor. Why is Hashem a Gibor? Koine Hakol, which is a word that stands out. We know it's in your Bar Mitzvah Parsha David. It says, Harimoisi Yadi Hashem Kel Elyon, Koine Shemayim V'aretz. I put my hand up to Hashem, the one who bought the heavens and the earth. Hashem bought the heavens. Who did he buy it off of? Chas v'shalom. So, like this, the truth is that the word koineh hakol actually doesn't mean that he bought the heavens and the earth. It means the pashtus is that he created the heavens and the earth. Hashem creates the heavens. That's called a kinyan, that he created it. But the truth is, I think that there's a deeper meaning, which I think I believe the Gaon Vilna says, which is that it means that Hashem constantly keeps the world running, keeps the world functioning. Which means, think about this. A dung beetle in South Africa has 1,000 chemical reactions happening in its intestines. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows about every single one of these reactions. Not only that, he's actively allowing them to continue. Just like right now inside the minds of all the world leaders, there is chemical reactions that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in charge of, and he's aware of them, and he's actively facilitating them. That's called Koinei Hakol. Hashem is actively involved in everything. And so HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right, so then you continue, Hanoira Zechichat Yavos, Mevigoy, Levnei Leman Shmoy Ba'ava. Okay, so that means HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Gvura, the Gvura of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem's a Gibor, he's strong. Why is he strong? Not because he could wipe out the world in an instant, but because he keeps the world running every instant. So the Gvura is Kishamim. Why is it called Gvura is Kishamim? It's the strength of water. What's the strength? That allows everything in civilization, everything alive, everything on this earth to continue going. It's called the Gvura. It's a strength that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has that we can never wrap our head around. It hurts your brain to think that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is aware every instant of the oxygen binding to your hemoglobin as we speak. That's happening, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is allowing it. In that sense, rain is Tchias HaMesim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is allowing a person to continue going. And I'll end with this. I'll share with you the Sfas Emes, not the Sfas Emes, I'm sorry, the Beis HaLevi. The Beis HaLevi, and I printed it out in a different shiur, the Beis Halevi says that Yira and Ahava is the same thing. Love of Hashem and fear of Hashem are the same thing. Why? Because a person loves HaKadosh Baruch Hu for keeping him alive. And a person is terrified of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he might, chas v'shalom, end the person's life. Chas v'shalom, we should never hear from these things. But he said, what's that like? It's like a guy holding on, he's on the side of a boat, and he's holding on to somebody's arm who's keeping him from falling into the water. And he can't swim. If he knows that the guy lets go, then that's it. So he loves the guy for holding on to him, and he's terrified he's going to let go. That's how we are with Kadosh Baruch Hu. Every instant, there's a gevura that we're davening, the gevura should continue. And you should just know, what's the best segula to keep that gevura going, to keep Hashem with a reason to keep you going? You and everybody on this earth, learning Torah. The person stops learning Torah, the gevura ends. So that means Geshamim, rain, comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's therefore it must be that a person has to only daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to keep himself going. And that brings us to Rabbi Yechanan. Rabbi Yechanan shalosh maftecha shel b'yadash HaKadosh Baruch Hu shel nimsru b'yad shliach. 3 keys that Hashem never gives away. Ve'elohein, mafteach shel geshamim, mafteach shel chayo, mafteach shel tchiyas hamesim. These are the 3 of them. The key of rain, the key of life, and the key of tchiyas hamesim, or the key of being born, I guess, right? Mafteach shel tchiyas hamesim, mafteach of tchiyas hamesim, mafteach shel geshamim, d'chsev yiftach Hashem l'chas etzarei tovus hashemayim. Hashem will open the heavens, his great, his good, I should say, storage unit. Lasis mentar atzach b'yitzay, to give out rain in its time. Mafteach shel chayo minayin d'chsev. Vayizker Elohim Rachel, Vayishma Elohim, Vayiftach es Rachma. Hashem listened to Rachel and he opened her womb. So that means Hashem is using the key. Mafteach shel tchiyas hamesim, yirayin t'chsev vidatem ki ani Hashem befit tchiyas kivrei seichem. You'll know I'm Hashem when I open up your kivaris. So it's Hashem talking to Klal Yisrael. So you see, it's a continuation of what we just started. This Rabbi Yechanan not hitting you out of nowhere. He's not just because we mentioned something about rain, so let me tell you something about rain. No. We're talking, why is it called Gevurah Geshamim? Because it's a Gevurah that Hashem keeps us alive. Well, let me tell you, only HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a koyach to do that, and that's why the 3 keys that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has, think about it, it's pretty random. What are these 3 keys? Very important. Rain keeps us alive. Chaya, which is a person coming into this world. Only HaKadosh Baruch Hu can decide that a person's worth coming into this world. And Tchiyas hamesim, which is those 2 things happening again, coming back to life again. So Rabbi Yechanan all of a sudden, not so random. He's very, very, very important, very, very germane to the discussions we've been having, which is, he's saying Hashem has these 3 keys. Geshamim, rain, Chaya, which is the ability to be born, and the ability to come back to life, which is these 3 things, which is Hashem deciding and determining you should continue. That is something that is happening. Like we said, the best way to continue, the best way to have to be married to a long life is to learn Torah. Chazak Baruch David. It's been a pleasure to learn the first daf of Ta'anit with you.